So if I want, I can do some linear modeling over here. So I'm saying model underscore new and lm, and there is a variable called as MEDV, that is median value of housing, and I'm just using a tilde sign separated, and I'm saying data is equal to Boston. Let me just check the names of Boston first. Okay, it's small MEDV, so I'll just change this to small caps. R is very case sensitive, right? And then you can do a summary of model underscore new, right? So you find that these few variables are significant and some of them are insignificant. You will have to remove these insignificant variables out of the model and retain only those variables which are significant. So all those with stars have to be kept as part of the model, and all those which are not significant have to be removed from the model. All the other things remain same as what you had done for the simple linear regression models, right? So the output interpretation would be quite simple as that, but only thing is that in this case you will have 3.64, so that would add up to 36.4 as the slope. Now the e raised to plus 01 indicates that you have to multiply by 10. If it is e raised to plus 02, that means you have to multiply by 100. If it is e raised to minus 01, that indicates that you have to divide by 10. If it is e raised to minus 02, it indicates you have to divide by divide by 100. That's how values are represented in R when they are very small values, right? So you just have to keep on writing these equations in the form. Say for example, in this case, what I'm writing on the screen, it will be like MEDV is equal to 36.46 minus 0.108 times crime plus 0.0464 times Zn plus 0.0205 times Indus plus 2.68 times CHAS and minus 17.77 NOx and so on. That's how you're going to write the equation. A similar thing is done over there when you have used a simple data like applications is equal to 806. So 806 is the intercept plus, and then you just return it in the bracket. Evidently, if you take that outside, it will become 806 minus 140 into place rate plus 0.9 into number of grad students. So that's how you write your equation. The interpretation is keeping all other things constant. So if you see the King's College Masters data, it basically means that keeping all other things constant, if you are increasing the value of placement rate by 1 unit, the corresponding impact on applications would be a negative 140. And similarly for number of grad students, keeping all other things constant, if you are increasing the value of number underscore grad student by 1 unit, the corresponding impact on the application is 0.9. That's how you interpret this output. So what is the expected applications given this year? Placement rate of 90% and college graduation class of 15,000. So you will replace these values in that equation, and the corresponding value, that is 1700, will be output. That is your basic prediction. And when you want to do this in your case, right, if you want to do this directly, you just use this as a prediction model. So now I'm not optimizing by removing this and just running through. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to say data dot frame, and in that I'm saying the actual data, which in this case is Boston, and then I'm saying comma, this is the actual data, and just besides that I'm saying push the predicted value. So I'm saying fitted underscore value is equal to fitted and model underscore new, and I can also say the residuals, that is the error, is equal to reset, and bracket I'm saying put this as model underscore new. And obviously I'm going to wrap this with something, reason being that if I don't do that, then you will see a whole set of data which will go out of screen. So I'm not saving it anywhere, but I'm saying head just to show only 6 observations, right? So the same thing as what you have done for a simple linear regression model is applicable over here also. right? So there are some couple of assumptions of linear regression model. The assumptions are that the regression model is linear in parameters, right? So there has to be linearity. So when you take a correlation, it needs to have a strong positive and negative correlation, and the data should be closer, as far as closer to the regression line. The explanatory variable x is assumed to be non-stochastic. That means it's assumed to be non-probabilistic, right? So you don't want the x to be very random. You expect the y to be random. The error term, epsilon I, follows a normal distribution, and also the errors are not related to each other. Given the value of x, the variance of error is constant. So for a given set of values of x, you expect the error terms to be constant. If it is not so, it is called as heteroscedasticity. Otherwise, what we expect is that the variance of error is constant. That means it's quite random, and that makes it a situation of homoscedasticity, which we expect from the data. Now, heteroscedasticity cannot be completely eliminated at times, and you say that if you want to relate this to an accounting scenario, it would be something like you have different heads in accounts, right? And then say there is a profit and loss, and there is assets and liabilities, there is some money coming, some money going out, there is a cash flow statement, and many times business would have something wherein we are not sure where this money is coming from or going to, and we typically categorize that as something which is called as a suspense account, right? So heteroscedasticity is also something like that, wherein we are saying that something which is not accounted is put in heteroscedasticity. But we don't just write off that header which is called as suspense. We try to understand what is the variable which we have not captured and which is causing this, and we try to eliminate that and try to record that in that variable and try to include that in our data to create a better equation. If we cannot do that, we still keep it as part of your model as an error part. But obviously you don't expect a suspense account which has 50% of your funds in your business. So you expect the suspense account to be somewhere small. So that is our intention. There should not be any correlation between two errors. So if one error is correlated to the second one and you see some serial correlation, that means that this is going on increasing, and that is an indication of heteroscedasticity. So you don't want that also. You expect low correlations between an error and an independent variable, and you expect a high correlation between an independent and a dependent variable, but you don't expect again a high correlation between two independent variables, because if that is happening, that is causing a condition called as multicollinearity, which we don't expect. It is like saying like Narendra Modi and Amit Shah, if both of them are given voting rights, obviously you know that that's going to be biased because both of them are going to say the same thing. You don't create a new variable which is saying height in centimeters when you already have height in inches, because both of them are typically saying the same thing, and that is somewhere causing multicollinearity. So you want to isolate that also. You'll typically keep that variable which is better explaining the y and try to remove the other one. That's what you do. And to do this, you might sometimes use something which is called as variance inflation factor as a term. So you will get a couple of diagnostic plots. So if you want to do that, all you have to do is just say plot, and you can say model underscore new in my case, right? So you'll get these things. There is a QQ plot, so you'll get a first plot which says the QQ plot. I'm just expanding this. So you can see that this is talking about normality. So yes, it's somewhere normally distributed, right? That is the quantile plots, right? And then you have the other plot. So I'm just going to enter, and then the other plot will come, and this is talking about the residual versus fitted. So the fitted is nothing but the actual data line, right? So the red line is showing the fitted value, and the dots are actual values, and it's talking about the gap between the residuals and the fitted value. So on the left hand side you can see the residuals, it's the errors. So what you can see over here is that the errors are very randomly distributed, which is very good for us, right? But incidentally, what you're seeing on the screen is a very small set of data and doesn't make sense. If you actually use a data which is something composite like what I have imported right now, it is more clearer. So try to work on more examples. It will make you understand this concept much better. And similarly, I'm just going to close this one and just going to shift to the next plot. So you have the normal QQ plot. Now this is nothing but the same quantile plot, but it's done by normalizing the data so that it becomes more relevant. And obviously what you can see on my screen right now is that this is a very good normally distributed data. So it makes sense for us to use this data to build the model and use it for predictions. And you hit the final enter, and this is where the scale location thing comes up. So obviously here you can see a square root of the standardized residues on the left hand side of the scale, and you have the fitted value. So obviously it is the residues. These are standardized, again a square root of them is taken. Now this makes more sense because this term is called as root mean square error. So you're trying to plot a root mean square error versus the fitted values and just trying to see that. So obviously it's making more sense. You can see a couple of outliers over here, but that is something to be done in data treatment, right? Similarly, you have the residual versus leverage plot also, which talks about a Cox part. So I'm just going to show that on my screen right now. So you have this plot, so it really looks very good. So you can see the distance from this, the Cook's distance is measuring that, so it's showing up that as compared to the standard residuals, if you have a linear regression model, the predicted values, it's looking really great. So you have these different measures starting from 0.5 over here between these 2.5, so they are all footing in well between these points, and most of the data is segregated around the 0 value. So for this specific data, it's good, right? Now we have already spoken about the multicollinearity. So a highly correlated x's lead you to multicollinearity. So if that happens, you will try to isolate that, check off that variable which is unstable, which doesn't have high significance, and keep that variable which is more significant. The effect of multicollinearity is that you are getting a higher R square value, right? Because you are increasing the effect of the denominator. So you are increasing the denominator, which in effect increases the R square value, which is not the true picture. So you should try to avoid the multicollinearity.